Alright, I know I've done a video like this before, but I think I want to do it again, just to showcase some differences in the Jabo, I don't know what you would call it, morphology between the different types. And it's not like 100% true for all of them, because they're so close sometimes, like you can't even tell, and there's like variation even between like seedlings sometimes. So, but generally speaking, I'm just gonna go and look at the common ones first. And so I've done this with the red before. I just want to look. This is a red hybrid right here. Distinctly, like it's kind of got this like, I don't know, weeping willow kind of like growth habit to it, where it's like, the leaves are kind of dangly. They're bigger, right? And they got a little bit of a gloss to it. And if you look at them, they're like fuzzy up close like that, just like a little bit fuzzy, like a little felt. But yeah, there's what the leaf looks like. So the red is a hybrid between Cauliflora and Oriana, and here's an Oriana. So this is a Broncamel, and you can see, like on this one, the leaves are pretty dang big, right? They're a lot bigger than the red on average. Like look at this leaf here, right? Like, see it in the size of my hand. I'm trying to get a better angle on it. So maybe this leaf will do better, right? Like, they're just the size of my hand here. Let's go back to a red. And then like, here's the red. So Oriana is typically bigger leafed. Now, the new growth I find on the Oriana, it can be a little bit more on the red spectrum when it comes out, but then it always kind of goes into this like bronzy, pinkish yellow color. And like, like that typical color. And the red isn't too far off on it. The red is very close in that, you know, as the leaf hardens off, it looks very similar to a white. And so, actually, is this a red? Hold on, let me just double check. Yeah, this is the Broncamel. And then here's another Broncamel. So you can kind of see, the variation, right? Sometimes they can have like a nice deep red color to them. So it's not always true in terms of like, how the new growth looks, but like I found with the Oriana, like it can have this blood red look to it, but then it still kind of does this. Although this Oriana in particular, to me, looks a bit more like a Phitrantha, which is where I think like some people would argue that Oriana and Phitrantha are kind of the same thing. But I'm not so sure. Like there's definitely differences between the two, like maybe in the glossiness of the leaves and the waviness of the leaves. Like you get this more so like where it's more bumpy on an Oriana. But this is from the same batch of seeds as this one, right? So and then let's look at a Phitrantha now that I'm bringing it up. So here is a I think this is the giant red crystal. Now, one thing that I noticed with the Phitranthas is they look a lot like the Oriana. They'll have the bigger leaves, but they don't have, let me get into the sunlight so you can see it a little better, but they don't have like those ridges so much. Maybe when they start out they do a little bit, but yeah, so, and it's not as like glossy, like they are glossy, but it's a little more dull. Don't know how to explain it. Actually, you can see that. See how similar that is to that Broncamel? So maybe that Broncamel is actually the Broncamel with the coloration like that. Maybe it's actually a red crystal. I got it mixed up, but good possibility there. But they are so similar sometimes. But here's the difference. Like, look at this new growth as it's hardening off. It's kind of got like caramels to it. And whatnot. And then here it is up here. Here's some smaller leaves that are hardening off at a smaller size for whatever reason. Maybe some bug damage. But you can kind of see it starts going into that yellow and then in the green. So pretty typical. And yeah, so here's another Oriana over here. Look how different the growth is in the shade. And it's just a different seedling, but you can kind of see. So they're all different, even between seeds. Who knows what they could have hybridized with, but yeah. So, and now I want to look at, let's go look at the Sabra, because that's the other one that I see people getting confused with. And now to me, Sabra is pretty much like immediately recognizable. Move that plastic out of the way there. Like, it's got small leaves and the new growth is pretty distinct. So like, here's my bigger Sabra, and you can see like just how dense the leaves are and how much smaller they are. Let's see if we can find some new growth. But like, look at the top, right? So like, it's very obviously like a different styled tree. And one thing I'm not looking at is the bark, and there are differences in the bark too, but I think it's pretty easy to tell the difference just by looking at the leaves. I'm trying to find some new growth, but let's see, there might be some on the tree out front, but let's go around this way. Let's see. I mean, this is oh, here we go. Here's some new growth coming out. So like in the Sabra, when it makes new growth, it's kind of like this, right? It's like really tight bunches, and they tend to go from like a yellow color, and they can start hardening off into like a red and then into green. It's kind of weird, and it's kind of random too, I've noticed. I'm trying to find a really good example, but really the biggest tell on the Sabra is just the size of the leaf. And you can see it's a little more elongated compared to like an oblongata, which also has smaller leaves. So let's go look at that. So like, I find Sabra and oblongata are pretty similar. But you'll see like this one, it's got more of a like a teardrop shape to it. And I'll go back to the other one so you can see it again. But see, it's like rounder, closer to the stem, and then it comes into a point a lot quicker. Like little footballs, I guess, more so. Whereas like the Sabra, they're a little more slender. You can see how slender they are in comparison. They got a little bit of that waviness to them too, you see that? So, yeah, I think the leaves are smaller on the Sabra too now that I'm looking at it. I'm trying to look at like any other features that stand out. Let's go a little close up. So those are close up of the Sabra. Freeze frame that. And then if you want to reference that, just take a screenshot and then look at the oblongata, and we'll hold it here. Freeze frame that. They are different. Like, I can kind of just tell. It's hard for me to describe it, but I know this is the oblongata just by looking at it. And the I'm not sure what variety that oblongata is, but I know I picked up one that's a seedling of the Momotaro. And let's look at that one. So we have more than one to look at. And where are you at? Where you at, Momotaro? Yeah, here we go. See, this one has that like teardrop shape to it, right? That, and the color on it is a little more of this like bluish green once it's fully hardened off, which is kind of cool. And they have that kind of, so here's one thing about the oblongata's new growth is it has that like, I don't know, see how it's kind of like that red and green iridescence to it. It's kind of cool. The Sabra kind of does that too, but it's not the same. So I know I'm kind of saying like, oh, you can see it, but you can't really see it. You just got to look at them enough side by side, and over time you'll kind of see what I'm saying. But I know I'm not making any sense right now. But I think this is another Ariana here. Yeah. So here's you can see how similar it looks to the red. But let's see. And then I guess the other ones. So here's a good example. This is the oh god, not Rosa de Pescos. What am I thinking of? This is the Campo Ramon. So this is one of the other varieties that has like a super unique shape to the leaf. And I have some kind of more wild jabos that I'm growing from seed that are similar. But this has like blood red new growth when it comes out, and they've got really long, thin leaves, pretty distinct. Like I could probably spot a Campo Ramon out of like a field of everything else. Like it's pretty dang distinct. And then you get into these weird ones where, like I think technically, so this is a Paulista, which is technically a cauliflora, but it's got some unique characteristics to it. So it's got this new, I think it's a cauliflora, don't take my word for it, but it's got this like blood red new growth like that, and it kind of hardens off to this caramel, and then finally to, you know, this green color. And so you can see how the leaves are similarly shaped to a Sabra, but they're a lot wavier. So this is like a true Paulista. This is a grafted tree from Adam's Paulista, which is a true Paulista. You see that? It's like a little sea slug. And like that, to me, like the waviness of the leaf and the larger leaf that's shaped like a Sabra leaf, like, and there's like no like ridges down the center too, like there is on the red. So let's look at the red again. You see on the red, it's got like those little ribs, I guess you could call them. There's none of that on the Sabra or on the Paulista. So there's something distinct. And then this one here is the Sabra X Sabra hybrid that I got from Adam as a grafted tree. We don't know what it's hybridized with, but honestly, I would suspect that it's hybridized with a Coronata probably, just because of the shape of it. Like, it wants to grow upright, and that's one thing I've noticed with Coronatas, is they just want to go up. They don't really want to go out, and they form like a nice like meh. And the peeling bark looks a lot like a Coronata to me as well, with my limited experience. This is just my theory, but this one has similar new growth to this one, but it's like a deeper like blood red color, where this is more of like a ruby red kind of. I guess one's kind of blood red. Maybe this is the ruby red one. No, this is the ruby red one. This is the blood red one. So don't know what the fruit's like on that one, but we'll find out someday. So I guess speaking of Coronata, so let's look at the Coronatas, because they're quite interesting. I have two different varieties, and they may well be different species, right? But I don't think anyone's really gone too deep in classifying them yet. But so this is the Coronata Hechtinga, and to me, the defining characteristic of a Hechtinga is, again, this upright growth. Like every Coronata seems to want to do that. They don't want to go out. They want to go to the sky. And you've got like the bark on it is always like this like pastel, like brownish off-white color after it's peeled. And but looking at the leaves, they've kind of got that waviness. They're like pretty wavy. That's a telltale sign. And they're more of an arrowhead shape. Like they're gonna have a lot of these like arrowhead wavy leaves compared to like even this one, right? So going back to the Sabra X, like see how it's more elongated. This one is more of an arrowhead. So, and a lot of the time, if you're trying to ID a tree just by visual, like you're gonna have to wait for them to get a little bigger like this, because every now and then they'll put a leaf out that doesn't look like all the other leaves, and it'll throw you off. And then obviously once you get the fruit, you'll be a little more well off predicting what it's going to be, or determining what it's going to be. But and then let's look at this other Coronata. So I've got the Coronata Hechtinga, and this is over here a seedling of the Otto Anderson Coronata. This is the Asu Kana, and again, look at this. It's just vertical. Like it wants to go up. It's kind of got that teardrop shape as well, but it's a really long teardrop shape. Like the point goes out really far. And the interesting thing about this one, I've done a video on it before, but the new growth on it has like It's all hardened off now. Let me see if there's anything coming out. Here we go. It's got kind of like a bluish color to it. Like once this actually starts popping out a little more, it's like fuzzy and kind of blue. And actually fuzziness, let's look at that too. See the fuzziness in the bark? Like this one's more like little hairs rather than felt. See that? And then if we go over, let's look at the Hestinga and see if that's similar. Like the Hestinga doesn't really have any fuzziness at all. So is Hestinga really a Coronata? I don't know. Maybe it's just a little different in that regard. So I don't really see any fuzziness. I don't know if fuzziness determines whether or not it's a species or not, but yeah, look at that. Like you can even see it from far away. I think this is the fuzziest one that I have. Like even the red, which I thought was pretty fuzzy, is not even close to that. See, you can't even really see the fuzz from far away. If you get close, you can. And then what else? So there's some other distinct ones, and I'll get to the Truncifloras here in a bit. But just to show, like, you know, once you get outside of the common ones, like Trunciflora, I would consider common, Coronata, or more common. Trunciflora, Coronata, Sabra, Red Hybrid, Scarlet. And Scarlet's a fun one because it's closer, because it's a back cross from red to a white again. So it's closer looking to a white than it is a Sabra. So it looks like a red, but the leaves are generally bigger. And I find like it's got you just got to look at it. But here's what a Scarlet looks like versus like a red, right? Like the Scarlet's definitely got, like if I go up close to the leaf and like just kind of the general compactness of the structure of the tree, it's like totally different than the red. So, oh, here's another Coronata. I have a third one. This is the grafted, this is the Pine Island Coronata 2. And let's see, does it have any fuzziness on this? No, does not. But this one's kind of like in between the Hestinga and the Otto Anderson. So yeah, I guess we'll find out when this one fruits. This is a grafted one that I got from John Travis a couple of years ago. Maybe it was either last year or the year before. So it's doing pretty good here. And here's the new growth on that, if you want to see. So that's closer to what the Hestinga looks like. But yeah, let me go back over here and we'll take a look at this fun one here. This is the Pluta de Mercury. It's more of a wild Jabo. And this one's pretty dang unique. Like it's one of the most beautiful ones I have. It's kind of grown out kind of funky because a worm ate it when it was young and it split. Now it's growing left and right. So that's kind of a cool shape to the tree. Hopefully it grows up instead of out eventually. Likes the spot, so I'm going to put it back, but I don't really need to say anything about that. Like that looks pretty dang distinct, right? Very unique tree. And then here's what a Cambuca looks like. So the large yellow fruited Jabos tend to do this thing, where they got the dangly leaves that have like a big bunch that pops up, and they kind of pop out of it. It's like these little cones right here. They'll kind of get like maybe like this big, and then overnight the new growth pops out of it. And I don't know how fast it actually happens. I'll have to catch that. Let's see. So let's look at the Trunciflora. Actually, no, let's look at another weird one, right? So this is another new type that I've noticed. That by new type, I mean behavior in terms of like the way it grows. So it's got these like really like wispy, dangly growth habit to it. And the new growth kind of comes out and hangs down. This one goes from that caramel color to like a reddish to caramel, like dark purples, and then hardens off to this color. This is one of the, I actually need to water this, see how dry that is. This is a Donna Maria 2, I think, or 1 or 2, Plinia SP. Not sure what the species is, but it's one of the navel, like necked ones. And then this is another Phytrantha. This is a Sapuscaya. Not sure how you say it, Sapuscaya. This is a Ticurada, which this one kind of looks a lot like the Ruby Honey to me, which I think is also a Plinia sp. But I suspect probably closely related to Cauliflora. It looks pretty similar. And then here's another one. These are the Costada vermelha. So it's a costate fruit, but it's not a Phytrantha. It's like a little different. They look like little like divots. So this is what is it? Costada Gigante vermelha or something like that. But you can see how the new growth on this is just like really tiny, and they do that really long thing, kind of like the what am I thinking of? That guy over there, that one. I always forget its name. The Campo Ramon. So they're kind of like Campo Ramon, but they have a different growth habit, and the leaves are a lot smaller. At least right now. Typically, as the Jabos get bigger, their leaves get bigger with them. So yeah, there's another vermelha. And then let's look over here. There's some other ones. I guess the Grimmel varieties. Yeah, I'm gonna have to hit everything with the hose real good here in a bit. The Grimmels have a distinct look to them too. So let's go out front because I have my Grimmel and my Transiflora out front. And then I'll close it off after that because I got some stuff I gotta get to. Got this peanut grass I'm gonna start planting everywhere. Let's see. Everything in the yard is doing pretty good now, even though we're in a drought. Irrigation once a week seems to be covering everything pretty well. Here's the other Sabra actually. It's got some new growth on it. So here's that red I was talking about. Like it's a little bit of a pink hue as it comes out. Here's a good example. So you can see what the Sabra looks like compared to the red. Let's go over here. Ooh, crunchy. So out front I have was it a red Transiflora, a Phytrantha, this is Sapuscaya right here, and then a Grimmel, which is the tallest one. But let's get a good look at the Sapuscaya because this is a good Phytrantha example of that kind of like dull sheen, kind of larger leaves, but none of the ribs on it. The new growth on it comes out, it's like a blood red color, it's very pretty. But here's the Transiflora, and this one's pretty unique too. It's probably the most like weeping willowy type, and they have these little like sword-shaped leaves when they come out. So, and they start as like a grayish brown. So here's kind of the new growth on there, and then as it comes out, it does that kind of like caramel to green thing, and they're just like really wispy and willowy, and supposedly these are pretty hardy trees. So far it's been taking the intense sunlight in the afternoon, but it is shaded by this little bush here. Doesn't really seem to mind the heat too much. Keep it, keep the root ball moist, and they do well. But so far I haven't got any leaf burn. I just threw it in the ground out here after I removed the tree that was here, and yeah, even all the new growth came out. It looks fine. Like I'm not seeing any stress on it. So either it's pretty well adapted to being in the sun from being out in the lanai, or they're just strong trees. Apparently these are also the most cold hardy of all the Jabos next to like the Sabra, so they can take down to the low 20s. But the red did too. So this one was unprotected during the storm, and as you can see, it did completely fine. And that's actually like multiple trees in one spot. I just put like a bunch of seeds in the ground. But let's look at the last one. This is the Grimmel. And the Grimmel is interesting because I think there's a couple of unique characteristics for it. First of all, the fruit on it is fuzzy and very big and has a thick skin. Tastes a lot like grape, like Concord grape and grape candy mixed with a Jabo. Excellent. It's still not, I like the reds better than the Grimmel, but the Grimmel's still a really good fruit. It's just like a different experience, right? You know, sometimes you want chocolate ice cream or vanilla ice cream, and that's kind of the difference for me. But anyway, so the Grimmels tend to want to do this like straight up growth habit too. At least mine does. And the new growth kind of has like a that where's that? Yeah, that caramel color. I think it pretty much starts out as the caramel, and then hardens off to the light green and then green. But they have pretty big leaves, and they look kind of like a boat to me. So they're not ribbed, and they're kind of like if you took a cross section of a boat from the top down view, like that's what they look like to me, and that's kind of how I can tell. Like in combination with the very like white looking bark. So yeah, we'll get a little freeze frame on the Grimmel leaf there, and they kind of tend to do this thing too, where when they're in the sunlight, they kind of fold in to protect themselves, and it's more noticeable on the Grimmels. They really do look like little tacos, maybe. Maybe that's the way to think about it. But yeah, so anyways, I guess we'll go and look at the Cambuca to close it all off, because I haven't really talked about that in a while. But man, look at all these fruits on the Cherry of the Rio. You have to start picking them and throw them in a bowl and eating them. My Cherry of the Rio is okay. Fruits aren't bad, but they're not like super great either. I'm hoping the orange variety will be better, which I have one planted right next to it, and I've got another one in the back and another seedling in a pot. Yeah, everything's just getting burnt up back here. I put this plant here, and I didn't acclimate it to the sun. That's why it looks like that. I'm hoping it'll set new growth out soon, but yeah, it's so dry that it's having a hard time. But yeah, Cambuca. So there's your Cambuca right there. This one's about 3-4 years old. Lost track now. You can see kind of that like shoot out and then dangly kind of look that I was talking about. Here's a good example. You can kind of see all the phases of it, right? Where you see this more dense piece here. You can see where it shot out of that, and then they kind of stretch out, and then eventually they'll harden off and they'll like that. Very, very pretty tree, and they don't have any like red coloration to them. They just kind of stay green the whole time. Yeah, here's a little bundle right there. You can see as they're like popping out. Like this tree, I suspect it'll probably this year, especially if we get some good rain, it's gonna double in size, easy. I expect it to be as tall as I am by the end of the year, so it's about 3.5 foot. You know, I'm close to 6 foot, so yeah, pretty nice looking Cambuca. It takes full sun. It doesn't really need a whole lot of water. Like every now and then it'll get pretty brutally hot, and it'll start looking droopy. You just hit it with a hose one time, it'll be good. I think if you put it in like a semi-shaded area, all for like, you know, maybe you get like a good long morning sun until midday and then shade in the afternoon. I mean, this is kind of like that, but we get more of the later afternoon until the house kind of starts blocking the sun. But actually, as the winter hits, so the sun moves that way, it actually gets more sun, which I think is a good thing. And just less sun in the summer, less intense sun. Yeah, and oh, here's another Tetrantha. This is the a Sanford seedling. You can see kind of like that big leaf and the not as pronounced ribs on it, and then here's like the new growth, so you can see that. It starts off as a little red and it's starting to harden off a little bit, but anyways, I've been talking about Jabo leaves for about half an hour. I think I'm gonna go ahead and call this one, but we'll zoom in on this Broncamel, which probably needs some fertilizer. Look at that. But yeah.